Howdy, welcome back. This is our second edition of the Shampoo Effect on this lovely Saturday morning of football. Before we get going, guys, I just want to, shout out. It's been 20 years since 9/11. It's, a lot of us remember it, especially people our age, like me and Christian. Remember it from back in that time. I think I was maybe in kindergarten or first grade or something like that. But it's a day that, we'll always remember. We want to thank, those first responders out there that lost their lives trying to save multiple others. So we really want to send our condolences out to those families. They're still dealing with the effects from it 20 years later. Still things haven't been resolved from that, but just never forget 9/11. We remember it. So I'm just going to send out a little remembrance there. Anything you want to say, Christian?
Yeah, no, I echo the same feelings. I mean, we were pretty young. I barely remember it because I wasn't allowed to see it at the time. Just
Mm.
because my parents didn't want me seeing that when I was that age. But I'm the same thing. I mean, it doesn't get easier to look at that stuff any year. But I feel like the best way to remember those people and the people who died, in the years after that because of it is just to, you know, be patriots and believe in our country and have pride in those things. So definitely keep that alive.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But we won't stay on that too much
Yeah,
longer. We got football to talk about, and you weren't able to come on the show this week, obviously. And there's a reason why. So, go ahead and let the viewers know why, what's up, why you haven't been on the show during the week, and you've just been limited to Saturdays.
yeah. I've been working during the week, unfortunately, and I had a job that was all right, but obviously had those hours. But now I'm going to be moving on to a position actually with Garnet and Gold, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with. It's actually a position that Skinner here used to have himself before leaving us to go down to Tampa. But I'm excited to be starting with them, helping out with some of the e-commerce stuff, and we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna get going there in 2 weeks, so you'll miss me for one more midweek show, and then I'll be here for the season. It'll be a good time.
Yes, sir. We're excited to get you back in the fold of things when it comes to during the week. It's a lot easier for being able to just talk more Florida State stuff than per se this. Even though this is fun, we do enjoy it, but
Yeah.
it's a lot fun when we got everybody there during the week. So it's good to be looking forward to that. Once you're back, congratulations, by the way, taking
Thank you.
over my old job.
Yeah.
It opened up a lot of opportunities for me. Obviously, being able to move to Tampa was a huge thing for me, and just keep moving up that ladder, keep growing myself professionally in my career. So I'm really excited for you. I know these hours on you at your job currently has not been very friendly. So really excited for you. You're going to be working for a great company, man. Garnet and Gold, great people over there. Everybody loves them. So
Yeah.
if you
No
guys
doubt
ever
about it.
see if you guys ever see Christian out and about, he's the new Garnet and Gold e-commerce guy. So anytime you guys order stuff online, it goes through his hands, and he'll take care of you guys.
Yeah. Let's do it. I can't wait to get started there, man. And I also can't wait for game day today. So let's jump into these Knowles, man. How are you feeling about Jacksonville State here?
I feel pretty good. They got beat last week by UAB 31-0. So that's very promising moving forward with our team. I think we're probably a little bit better team than UAB, even though UAB is a decent team this season. The thing is with Jacksonville State, everybody expected their quarterback. I forget his name, but expected him to come out and really play really well and actually compete with Jacksonville State, and unfortunately that or UAB, and unfortunately that wasn't the case for him. So I have a lot of hope going into this game. I just don't want it to be a letdown. After we lose an emotional type battle in the past, we have kind of just folded the following game as we saw last year over and over again. So I really hope that's not the case this year. I hope it's going to be a 2013-esque type of game where, everybody's there. The crowd is pretty good. I mean, we got another sellout in the student section, which is amazing for a game like Jacksonville State. So hopefully it's like 2013-esque where you're able to leave by halftime and can continue to go out and party or do whatever else you want to. I remember those days. They were extremely fun. Be up by 30, 40 points at halftime, and then, leave or do whatever you want. I don't necessarily think it'll be that bad. I think we'll kind of, just try a few different things out that we haven't in the past. But I fully expect, Chuba Purdy to be in at quarterback by the third quarter.
Yeah, I would hope so. That quarterback for Jacksonville State, I think his name is Cooper. There's people who talk about him as being a guy who's going to get drafted. So, I mean, it's nothing to take lightly when you hear that. But again, looking back at that UAB game, like you mentioned, I mean, those guys look rough. He passed for less than 100 yards in that game. It was surprising to me because I was betting on them in that game. I had seen them play us last year, and I thought they looked sharp against us. But apparently, they lost a lot of pieces, including one to the Knowles and Marcus Cushney, the defensive end transfer that we picked up. But I echo the same feeling as you. I really don't think we're gonna have a problem with these guys. Even if they hadn't got blown out last week, we really shouldn't be having a problem with a team like this. But unfortunately, we've seen it in the past where these sorts of FCS teams with above average quarterbacks can come into Doak and make some noise. We saw that with Stanford and Devlin Hodges a few years ago. But I think now we're beyond that. We're in the Mike Norvell era. These are not the type of things we have to worry about. I think the most important thing is to get some reps for some younger guys and stay healthy in this game. I'm really excited to see Chuba, like you mentioned as well. So those are the two things you look for on these types of days.
Yeah, definitely. And we got a special guest popping in here with us right now. One of our dear friends from the No Game Day Discord. Everybody, welcome Luke Payne to the show. How you doing this morning, Luke?
I'm good. Good. How are you?
What's up,
Good,
Luke?
good.
How are you?
If you guys can't tell, Luke is not from the States right now. He's from overseas. What time is it there, man?
Just gone 2 p.m. I think.
2 p.m. So middle of the day, nice.
Yeah.
But we were just talking about Jacksonville State, what we're kind of expecting the Noahs to do. You have any thoughts on that? And then we can maybe go into a little bit of recap on what we saw last week in the Notre Dame game.
I think it's a blowout. I think I'd be surprised if we concede more than 2 touchdowns. And I'm hoping to see a lot. I hope we really go out strong and look a lot better than we have recently. I'll take it. I'll be happy with anything.
Are you excited to see Chuba?
Well, I did say in the NG chat the other day that I'd quite like to see a lot of Chuba today. I don't think there's a better opportunity to put him in.
Yeah, I think it's a big day for him because he only played a few times last year, and the game he got the most action was NC State, where he really, along with the rest of the offense, looked awful. So I think this is a good chance for us, a cupcake for him to kind of start building his reputation among the fan base.
Yeah, there's no better game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping it gets a blowout. It should be a blowout. Let's just hope that's the case. I don't want it to be another letdown spot like we've been used to the past 3 years or so. But going back to last week, guys, a lot of promise being shown. I loved everything about the game day atmosphere, the tunnel, the team, the culture that's being built. The guys not, getting hyped up after giving up a first down but making a big hit, and just overall play by a bunch of guys that are transfers. Those guys were huge. But your thoughts on that? Anybody surprised you? Anybody, is kind of you wanted more out of them and they kind of disappointed you a little bit? But moving forward, there's a bunch of questions, when it comes to the quarterback position. We can talk about that as well. So what are your guys' thoughts on the win or the win? Jeez. It was a win in my books, but ultimately the loss 41-38 to Notre Dame last weekend on that field goal in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, to immediately off the bat, when you say, who impressed you that you didn't expect to have a great game, I've got to go with Deloach, who I think he had either the most or second most tackles on the team for the day. I thought that was super impressive. I was one of the people who was really worried about that spot because of missing Emmett Rice. But, I mean, he stepped in there. He did a good job. And on the other side of that, at his same position, I thought the most disappointing guy on the day was actually Amari. I don't think he made a huge impact. I feel like he was one of the few guys who was out of place a few times. I mean, you had guys like Travis Jay and Brownlee who gave up plays at points in the game, but they were always in the right spot. They were always aggressive and knew what they were doing. Amari just kind of took himself out of it a few times. So I'd like to see him get better. I'm sure he will because he was one of our better guys on defense last year. I guess sometimes you have a bad day like that. But I mean, overall, I look at that defense and I look at the whole team, but I'm mainly focused on the defense. And they don't even look like the same guys at all that we saw. I mean, just against Duke and in all those games last year. I mean, they looked amazing. So we'll see how they progress, and we'll see if they could get up for it and be that like invested and go that hard for every game. But I mean, if they could give a half of what they gave for that game, they should play good defense all year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've never witnessed a good team. When I started following, it was worse than where we are now, but I'm still yet to witness a good team. So I was encouraged last week. My favourite player on the team is probably Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah,
and that started from watching him on, obviously, when he was on Netflix at Last Chance U. I always thought he was a good character. He seemed like a good egg in the locker room, and he did look really good.
Yeah, he did, no doubt about it. I mean, I expected him to look good, but I don't know if I expected that much. I mean, he was a beast out there.
Yeah, he was an animal. We all knew he was going to be good coming in. Obviously, being a transfer from Georgia and having all that hype around him, and having 5 sacks in the SEC. So he's going to be an upgrade from what we had at the position in the past years, especially the past 2 years or so. So him coming in, I didn't necessarily expect him to do it like he was doing it. I guess like I thought he would make an impact on the game, but he is overall our best player on our football team when he's on the field. Absolutely incredible machine. Just doesn't stop working, doesn't stop. His motor doesn't stop. But yeah, I agree with Christian. I was really, really worried about our linebackers moving forward. I didn't know what was going to happen with them, but Kalen DeLoach really surprised me, laying the wood on multiple occasions. Yeah. Defense looks vastly improved than it was last year. It's just good to see that finally taking shape. Fuller's finally, got a defense where he can build around and not everybody can bash his head in for being a shitty coach up to this point. So we'll see how the rest of the season turns out. I mean, again, obviously giving up 41 points, not ideal, but it just looks overall better. Travis J has a little bit more to do when it comes to turning his head to the ball and knocking down the ball. But multiple occasions, Jack Cohn put the ball in places where only his wide receiver could get it for a touchdown. So you got to give credit to them as well on that side of the ball. But looking at the offense here, guys, the running back room looks very, 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 very solid. Jayshon Corbin, obviously, with that 89-yarder and then ending up with 144 yards for the game is fucking huge for him to get back to his time when he was at Texas A&M before his injury and transferring here. That's awesome. And then the emergence of Trayshawn Ward. How about little Devontae Freeman, dude? How cool is that? Seeing little 8 running around, looks exactly like him when he's running. It's amazing. Really pumped, really excited about the running back group.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it starts with Corbin because you can get excited about Toafili and little D Free, but I mean, that dude's like your bread and butter. He's your workhorse, and I think he looked better in that game than at any point last year by far. Like he had flashes last year, but he never looked the way he did, where he was consistently moving the chains for us. It's extremely impressive. And I mean, the speed he had on that 87-yarder, 91-yarder, whatever it was, I mean, that's something I hadn't seen from him since his Texas A&M tape. Like, I was of the assumption that wasn't even going to come back after his injury. So it's great to see that. But I mean, yeah, Ward contributed, Toafili contributed. You had Ja'Kai contributing at wide receiver, which was a move I wasn't exactly expecting, leaving the running back room. But all those guys played well, and I think when you can splash in you have a little like thunder and lightning behind Corbin in Trayshawn and Lawrence Toafili, I think that's going to be tough for a lot of teams to handle. And I mean, you have to remember this is one of the best defenses they're going to play all year was Notre Dame. That's a playoff team. So you look at how good they were in that game against those players. It's only going to be magnified when we get into most of the ACC schedule. So it's super exciting.
Cole Hamilton, he's so impressive. He's probably in one of my top 5 players to look out for going forward. Crazy. Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah, and a little love for Luke being on the show this morning. You love to see it. But the wide receivers, boys, look good. I'm a lot of promise there as well. Finally, Dugan's has some guys in there, some depth in there a little bit too, to be able to make plays. I'll tell you who's going to be an absolute animal, Malik McClain, moving forward. Just look at when he caught his one pass of the game over the middle on that little slant pattern that he ran. Just looked so smooth, so agile with the ball and in his hands. And then not only that, but that dude is blocking his ass off downfield for all of his teammates, which I haven't seen since Rashad Green, maybe back in 2013, 2014, 2015, however long that man was here. I feel like it's here forever, but I don't remember a time we've seen a wide receiver block like that and just care that much about blocking downfield for his teammates. He's going to be an animal moving ahead in his college football career. So really excited to see him. But Parchment kind of showed up in that one touchdown, didn't do much else other than that. And then Ja'Kai, obviously from the wide receiver position, had that big throw. And Keyshawn doing Keyshawn things, just getting the big plays that he needs to. Going up and getting the ball at his size is huge. But wide receiver room looks great, looks very promising. Didn't see a whole lot of Burrell, but I'm sure that'll progress as the season goes on, or if we have any blowouts of games. But thoughts on wide receiver groups, man? I love them so far.
Yeah, I thought it was similar. I mean, to pat myself on the back to my season prediction, where I said that Keyshawn was going to be our workhorse. He was going to be the guy you really depended on, and was your steady guy. But maybe he's not your explosive big play creator. I thought that was going to come from McClain or Parchment. Ended up coming from Ja'Kai Douglas, which I never would have expected. But you did have a touchdown from Parchment and some nice plays from McClain. I think about McClain, the biggest thing that sticks out, and I'm so excited about him. Like he played so damn well. The biggest thing that sticks out with him, though, is what you talked about, the blocking. I mean, he's 40, 50 yards down the field. You see him running down the field the whole way with Corbin on that long run. I mean, he just wasn't stopping. And I look at that paired with, like his physical ability and the plays he can make and the plays he's going to be able to make. I see him as being a 3-and-out guy. I mean, he's going to go get drafted and make his money really quickly, but he's going to do a lot of great things for us, in that process. Behind him, I mean, Parchment was all right. He had a nice touchdown on that play where Travis was scrambling, but beyond that, I don't think he had a huge impact unless I'm forgetting some plays. So I want to see him step up a little more. If Ja'Kai can keep stepping up like that and be that downfield threat with his speed, that would be amazing. So I feel about the same as I did them before this group before, but I mean, I'm going to feel better about Malik McClain probably every week, just with what I expect him to do.
Yeah, Parchment was probably the guy coming into the year that I was most looking forward to seeing, and hopefully he picks it up as the year progresses. But he's probably the one guy in that room that I really do believe if he can pick it up, it really can take the team to a complete another dimension.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a couple guys that I want to see more of that were hyped up, coming in to ball and everything. Pokey, obviously being here for a couple years now. And then who else was I gonna? Oh, Brian Robinson. Didn't get to see a whole lot of those two. And we're expected to do a lot. They're expected to contribute to the wide receiver room. Maybe they will. Maybe they weren't getting the looks or anything like that. So that bodes well. For them moving forward, as long as they,
and
I'm sure they'll be able to the passing game.
Today's the day when you're going to get to see him. So
yeah,
that's something to be excited for. I think especially with the guys you brought up, I think especially Brian Robinson is the dude who I want to see today, and I want to see him connecting with Chuba. So I feel like that's going to be his QB once he's really out there and a full-time starter for us.
And then linebackers. Obviously Jordan Wilson mainly in there to run support block, which is good to see him after his injury that he had to go through last year after transferring from UCLA. And then Cam McDonald does what Cam McDonald does. Just he's just progressed his game so much. Takes it very seriously, whether it's blocking, whether it's getting downfield, opening up the middle of the field there. So good overall for the tight end position. And then what everybody wants to know, outside of offensive line looked better. Obviously, pass blocking has to improve again. It's a huge problem, especially snaps, getting the ball back to the quarterback a little sloppy, a little slow. But I don't want to, hang around on the offensive line too much because we did that plenty of times last year.
I will
and
say that they
they
got better as the game went on. They looked bad in that first half, but Norvell, for whatever reason, just stuck with that running game, especially in the fourth quarter when J. Trav had his last drive and then Milton came in. I mean, we just ran it down their throat. And after how that O-line looked in the first half, that didn't make any sense. But he stuck with it, and you could say we sort of leaned on them because that D front for Notre Dame looked worn out, if nothing else. I mean, we were taking it to them with Ward and Corbin at that point in the game. So that's props to the O-line. We just need to see a whole 60 minutes of it.
And then go ahead, Luke. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say I've got to hop off. But no, definitely. No, it's been good to chat. I'll definitely look to hop on again.
Yeah, definitely, Luke. We appreciate you coming on, buddy. And every Saturday is usually when we have our guests on that are, well, we have guests on during the regular week too, but usually those guys are, high profiles like like Lolo Robinson over there at No Game Day. Huge shout out to them, by the way, for signing that deal with Sports Illustrated. So that's huge for them. But thank you again, man. We'll see you again on another Saturday, and go Noles.
Brilliant. No, cheers, guys.
All right, have a good one.
Yeah, guys. So that's our friend of the show, Luke Payne. Really been connected with him through No Game Day. It's awesome being able to meet people, through the internet, man. It's pretty wild. The friends that you can make that way. It's amazing stuff. But we thank Luke for coming on. But to the big question here, that everybody is wanting to know, what is asking. I know the ACC Network did a panel the other day with Coach Mark Rick, EJ, and then somebody else, and they all made the same decision on who Florida State should start at quarterback moving forward here throughout the season, and they all chose Mackenzie Milton. What are your thoughts on that? Who do you think should start? Do you think we see any change this week, particularly, or do you think there's a point in time where maybe Mackenzie does take over, or do you think it's just going to be automatic moving ahead?
Yeah, I didn't see that panel that you brought up, but I do disagree with them. Both in like what I think is going to happen and what I think should happen. At this point, honestly, you got to stick with J. Trav because I mean the Milton situation in that game was amazing and it's a great story, but you wonder from my perspective if he would have played that well if he's in there the entire game. I mean, because you saw him that day, even on the sidelines, like he's constantly getting his leg touched up, he's getting work done. And I mean, he went in there and maybe the adrenaline or whatever it was, he put up an awesome performance. He went 5 of 7 and really took control of the team.
And had a couple good runs too.
Yeah, he did. He scrambled, which I mean, me and I think everyone else in that stadium held our breath and just cringed when we saw him run for the first time. it was my heart skipped a beat. I was like, get down, man. Yeah, I think you start Jordan Travis. I think especially in these sorts of games, like your Jacksonville States, your Louisvilles that you're going to play, the teams that you should be able to beat with strong defense and with Jordan Travis doing enough with his legs. I don't think there's any reason to put Milton in there. I mean, there's going to be times in the year where you want his passing threat and you want the momentum and change of pace that he brings, right? You're probably going to need that versus Clemson, versus NC State, versus Miami and Florida. But I mean, most of those other games in between, I think you can get the job done in almost any game with Jordan Travis. So I see you keeping Milton kind of as a wild card in your back pocket. The guy you can bring in who it's going to hype up the fans and the team when he comes in. It's going to make the defense have to change what they've been doing all game, especially if you bring him in late. So I think that's where most of his effectiveness is going to come from. I think if he's out there getting 60, 70 snaps a game, that's terrible for his health, and I don't think that's great for our chances to win whatever game that is anyways. So that's how I see it playing out. I don't know what you think, but I feel like the media and the ACC panel you talked about, they're caught up in the story and they're caught up in the moment. and what he's accomplished, which was extremely impressive. But I mean, I want to win these games, and I think Jordan Travis is still going to be our best chance at doing that.
Yeah, I'm kind of in between here. I think we should just do something similar to what we did on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And that's just, put them in position where they're both able to succeed. And, it was just when it needed, Travis's helmet popped off and, McKenzie had to come in and he had the hot hand and there's no reason to take him out at that point. And the dude's a gamer. Let's get it. Let's get that straight. Guy fucking gets it. He knows where to place the ball. He's learned the offense very quickly as he came in. I mean, there's that pass over the middle of the field, right over the top of the linebacker's head into tight coverage. I was like, Travis isn't going to make that fucking throw, dude. Like, yeah, Travis isn't going to make that throw. So, and then the thing that worries me with Travis is his decision making once he does get out of the pocket. Multiple throws. I mean, all three of his throws that ended up being picked off were when he was running out of the pocket and made not a very good decision. And that's throwing the ball up and you're not even really giving your guy a chance. In those situations, throw the ball away, live to fight another down, and then just punt the ball away and then rely on your defense, which if we could have done that and not had those many turnovers, who knows, we might have won the game just based off of that.
I think to that point, I think that's part of the reason why on days like today versus Jacksonville State, on your Louisville game coming up, and they look, god awful. On these types of games where you're going to feel really confident that you can get it done with your running game and with your strong defense, these are the games where you want to play Travis more than Milton, because Travis needs that work. He needs those reps and those improvements.
Right.
Milton, like you said, he's a gamer. I mean, he's going to go out there and he's going to flash and he's going to have a hot hand and get momentum. You can almost count on that. But Travis is a guy who, if you want him to keep growing, and I mean, you have to think about beyond this year because he's still with us next season. You want him to keep getting better as a passer so that you can have, that elite level of running and passing in one guy, then, I mean, you're going to need him to get reps in these sorts of games. That's where he's going to grow and, become what we want our QB to be in the future.
Yeah, I 100% agree. We want that, progress from Travis. He's obviously made strides from where he was when he first got here. Huge strides. We used to never see him push the ball downfield. He is, excuse me, pushing the ball downfield, which is good to see from him. He's more confident in his arm ability than he was coming in. That's just huge, which Kenny Dillingham has talked about over and over again, getting his mind back to where it was before he started not to love football anymore. And he's starting to love football again. And I still think we're just going to run a 2 QB set. Whichever matchup works best is what we're going to ride with. And I think you start Travis until he's proven that it's not going to happen. But I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to learn from last week. First game jitters, trying to make a big play. That happens, especially with a quarterback who likes to run with the ball, or, an offensive line that doesn't give you a lot of time. Your eyes immediately shoot down to the rush around you, and then everything breaks down and you lose where you're at on the field. It's difficult for him, but, things should improve as the season goes along. No injuries on the offensive line. I know we saw Dylan Giddens go down, but he is healthy. He's going to be starting this week, so it's good to see. No injuries on that offensive line after a top 10 matchup in the first week is a huge plus in my opinion. But moving forward, I think you roll them both out there, see what mixes better. Today we'll probably see a little bit of Chuba Purdy, which I'm excited to see his progression from his, he was out with injury for a long period of time this offseason. So it'll be interesting to see. But man, I'll tell you what, I don't think either of those two quarterbacks really give a shit who starts or who plays or whatever. I think they love each other, man. Like I haven't, when I see two quarterbacks competing or two quarterback, thing going on for a college football team, you normally don't see the guys being together like that. When Mike Norvell pulled them both together, they just looked at each other with like complete love. Like he's so happy. I mean, Jordan Travis came out and said it and put it on his Instagram and everything else, saying how happy he was for McKenzie. And I don't like it's just, there's so much love there. I'm sure it was so emotional for both of them. Like this dude is your guy in the locker room, probably one of your best friends since you guys are always with each other in the quarterback room. So it was amazing. That was such a moment to me that I got even a little emotional. Like I even started choking up a little bit. I was like, wow, dude, like I never in a million years thought we would see this from two quarterbacks
Yeah.
at Florida State University.
Yeah, I mean, it was great story. I mean, it's tear jerking. I mean, I think the most important thing about it um, is what it does for the locker room because I mean, there's no doubt that those two guys, along with maybe Jermaine and a guy like Brownlee, are the most vocal guys in the locker room. And maybe vocal is not even the right word because Travis isn't really that guy, but those are the leaders of his team. And I mean, if anyone else below them looks up and sees that, like sees the respect they have for each other, sees like how professional they are and working and grinding and supporting each other. I mean, that's awesome. And we haven't had that in a damn long time. I mean, the quarterback situations we had between Frenchie and Blackman and then Blackman and Horty Brook and Blackman and Jordan Travis, it was never like that, like it is right now. So you love to
I
see.
think it was kind of like that, just based off of James Blackman's personality.
Yeah.
James always wanted to be that leader, and he was. He just couldn't get it done on the field aspect of things, and that's being seen over at Arkansas State now. And he's not really being able to perform there either, which sometimes it's just not meant to be, man. I mean, you've tried, you've been put in situations to where you can. So, but I think James is a great leader when it came to being in the locker room and the culture aspect of things. But this just seems so different to me.
Yeah, it does. I mean, and that what I said, I mean, that's nothing against Blackman. I was a fan of his longer than most people were, but I mean, it's different. It's not the same thing. I mean, these guys have the team behind them, and both of them can actually go out there and make plays. Granted in different ways, but they can both like put up points. I mean, they're both effective and they're both killer dudes. The last thing I wanted to bring up on this game, which is a little bit of a sour note, but I mean, we have to figure out something with the center position. I mean, we're in those spots towards the end of the game and in overtime where we're dealing with low snaps. I mean, that's impacting plays, impacting like in the most important moments our ability to win. I mean, I know they had Baby on out there. I think Maurice went down at one point, and Baby on Johnson, the 10th year senior who still can't snap the ball, was out there. But I mean, they've got to figure that out. Today's a good chance to do it because I don't think JSU is bringing much at you at all on the defensive line. But I'm just saying that's something I'm going to keep an eye on. Alex Atkins has got all the praise in the world, deservedly. But we're going to see if he can clean that up on the field, to get some coaching to go with his recruiting acumen.
I think it'll improve as the season goes along. I mean, this first game, it's the first game of the season, so it's bound to happen. But you should have expected that to be fixed in the off season and fall and spring ball. So not real sure what the deal is with that. It obviously needs to improve. Those low snaps hurt us big time down there at the end of the game. The McKenzie had to bail on one, had to go and jump on a ball, set us back. Luckily, Fitz came through, able to hit the field goal. Is huge. Yeah, which is fine. But I don't even want to talk about the overtime field goal and all of that bullshit because every coach makes that fucking challenge. Every coach is gonna try and move his kicker up 14 yards to get a closer kick, no matter if he Fitz drilled the 50-yarder or not. It is what it is. Every coach makes that decision. You live and die with that. So that's not anything we need to really get caught up on. Even though I know a lot of people on Twitter did.
Yeah, I agree. No comment needed.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest takeaway from that game for me has got to be the culture around the program. It seems to be improving a whole lot, and Mike Norvell was able to do it in 1 year, which is amazing. He flushed all the bad blood out of the program, which was definitely necessary. And you can see it. All that bad blood gone is working very well for our team, and there's a lot of confidence surrounded us right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's amazing. To pair with it, it almost goes hand in hand. But that crowd was unbelievable. I mean, I've been at probably approaching 30 or surpassed 30 games in Doak. and including like, Clemson games, UF games, Miami games, and none of them were like that. I mean, I've heard it get that loud, but not that many times over and over again. When we're on defense in the fourth quarter, it just got to that deafening point and ended up peaking, I think, on the Kier sack and on the Fitzgerald field goal to send us to OT. I mean, it was nuts. I mean, we're not going to see that tonight, but if we could bring that back, when we play Miami and Doak this year, and that could be a consistent thing for our biggest games, that would be amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. There's a video on Twitter. I'm sure a lot of people who watch the show or are on Twitter were able to see it. Somebody took a video from the Capitol building, which is a mile and a half away from the stadium, and you could just clearly hear the war chant just echoing throughout Tallahassee. It's great to hear it back, man. It's great to see it back. It's amazing stuff that we're able to see right now. From a fan perspective, from an atmospheric perspective, it's pretty fucking awesome to be back. I was back in the Notre Dame game in 2014, and that game got really loud down at the end of the game when the interception by Pugh in the back of the end zone after the pick call on the touchdown by Notre Dame. So was amazing stuff. I've been there multiple times. I've probably been to over 30 games myself in Doak, so probably one of the loudest times I've ever heard it in there. Just watching it from TV, I wasn't there, but I'm sure it was deafening, which is really what you want. It seems like everybody stayed for it. It was an amazing game to be a part of. Wish I was able to make it up, but was not able to. But with that being said, man, we'll leave last week and we'll move forward here. We've got college football game day picks here, guys. We're gonna go ahead and give you guys some gambling tips, choices that we're gonna make on games. So Christian, I'll let you lead the way. You're kind of more of a guy who pays more attention to it than I do. My time right now is not where it used to be. I used to be all over it. I'll ride along with you, buddy. Let's go.
All right, well, let's throw it out first to the college game day game of the week. How about that? We have the Cy-Hawk rivalry. We've got Brock Purdy playing out there in Iowa versus his rival. I've got this game. It's Iowa +4. I don't have the over/under in front of me because I didn't bet it. I am taking Iowa +4 in this game. Mostly because I was looking at some stuff on this. Matt Campbell, who, for as much as everyone lauds him and as many people wanted him to come here and be our coach, he's never beaten Iowa. He's never taken down his rival, even with all that success he's had. I don't like them to do it this year. I think last year was sort of fluky for them. They had a great season, but I don't see them repeating that. And I do like Iowa. I think of them as just a steady-ass team who's always going to show up and give you a consistent level of play, especially on defense. So I'm betting +4 on Iowa on this game. I'm not betting the under. I don't even know what the under is because I usually stay away from totals, but I do know a stat.
It's at 46 right now.
Is it? Yeah. The stat I have is that in this rivalry, 13 of the last 15 times they've played, it's gone under. So, I mean, if that's something that interests you, that's a pretty solid trend that is definitely you're not going to see in a lot of places outside of a Iowa versus Iowa State type rivalry.
Yeah, and it's an interesting game because it pits a Big 12 team against a Big 10 team. So you got two contrasting styles here. One hard-nosed team that plays really good defense against a team that likes to get the ball up and down the field. But Iowa State does play good defense as well. 46. It's going to be hanging right around there. I could see the game being a 48, total or something like that. So I don't really have a lean or a pick on that side of the ball. I am with you though. I'd probably ride Iowa money line. Yeah. You probably get a better bang for your buck there if you're gonna choose Iowa because that +4 just really buys you a field goal. And ultimately, if the game's coming down to a field goal, that's probably a great thing for the money line. So that's probably a real good look for you because even then, if the game comes down as 21-21 late in the fourth quarter and Iowa State kicks a field goal, you would cover with that +4, which is nice. You probably get still decent value out of that +4. But I would take my chances there with the money line for Iowa. I like what they're doing. They really put on a show last week. Iowa State didn't really do much to really surprise you. So Iowa is on the road, so that's why they're getting the plus points here. But I like Iowa
good
money
bet.
line. That's probably what I would ride today.
Yeah, I bet the Iowa +4, but in a separate parlay, I do have the money line. I think I expect them to win the game, so it's a good bet. Yeah, let's bounce over to a team that I've taken on the midweek locks twice in a row now. That's NC State at Mississippi State. It's a big game for the Wolfpack because they're going into an SEC environment, which is unique for them. But just looking at this game on paper, I would have expected NC State to be favored by more. I think Mississippi State is downright bad. I'm not a Mike Leach fan at all. I never have been. He's fun, and I love the clips that he produces. But as far as a coach, I've never been a fan. I think NC State wins this game by at least a touchdown. So I was able to bet them to win by 2.5. I'll take that all day. It'll be interesting to see how they react to the environment and the cowbells. That's the biggest thing there. But NC State plays at FSU. They play at Clemson, and their home environment themselves is really not too shabby. So I'm not worried about it. I think it's an easy NC State win, and they keep rolling. I also took them in my preseason. I think over 6.5
Mhm.
for their regular season wins. So they're going to win this game. They'll be well on their way to reaching that.
Yeah, the game is in Starkville, so that's going to create a bit of problems, obviously, with the cowbells and the noise that is being brought there. They know how to really, it's loud there in Starkville, Mississippi. I don't know if you've ever heard them. I know there's one game I went to a while back when I was a kid, and those cowbells do get
lagging a little bit here. We got you there, Skinner. Let's see if we can get him back in here. Yeah, well, until we get Caleb back.
There we go. Sorry.
We go. Yeah.
The line is actually moved down to -1 now. In
I'm
favor.
going to double down on that.
Yeah, in favor of NC State, right?
Yeah.
So, or no, in favor of Mississippi State, excuse me, because NC State was favored by 2.5. I don't know what the purpose of that is, but Mississippi State, it's high flying, just air it out, air raid offense under Mike Leach. That's what he does. So NC State's really gonna have to come with it with their defense and their secondary. Which watching them last week, I think they are up for it. For sure, they're up for it because they looked really damn good last week. Their quarterback looks good. They look like the overall better team than Mississippi State does. So I like them -1 here. It's going to be a night game on ESPN2. Should probably be, I would imagine, one of the better games of the week here, considering the slate's not all that good. A lot of teams playing cupcake games, but going into a hostile Starkville, Mississippi is going to be a challenge for them. But I did see a clip on Twitter where they are preparing their quarterback room they're just shaking cowbells the whole time they're trying to study. They're throwing things at them like markers, pens, whatever, and trying to distract them. And so I think they're going to be prepared coming into Starkville. So I like that -1. I mean, it's probably going to be great value right now. Under 55, over under 55.5. I think you probably go over.
Yeah, I just doubled down on that thing. I mean, I haven't seen anything as long as Devin Leary got hurt and I didn't hear about it, which I looked at Twitter this morning and didn't see anything. I mean, I think this is an NC State by a touchdown game. I think a lot of people are moving that line because they look at the names and they look at the location of the game and they're not really realizing what NC State has on offense. I mean, -1, I love it. I'll take that again all day.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I want to move to another big game. It's actually at noon. And I'm surprised that, game day didn't eventually end up there. Instead, they ended up at Ames. But Oregon versus Ohio State, noon game on Fox, 12 versus 3, both 1-0. Ohio State -14.5. What are your thoughts?
I'm on the Ohio State side here by 14.5. I don't know. See if you know the answer to this. The Oregon defensive end, who Florida State fans will remember his name, Kayvon Thibodeau, had some injury issues this week. So I don't know if he's a full go or not. If he's not, that only makes me more confident. If he is, I'm still not too worried. I think I would have liked to get the 14 and not have that 14.5 hook, but I still think
Hmm.
it'll be pretty comfortable for Ohio State to cover that. I also think the over is a good play. I really am not going to bet it because I have less to back that up and to support putting my money into it. But you know, I really look at these two teams and I think they're going to put up points. I think Ohio State's biggest weakness is their secondary, so that's something for Oregon to take advantage of. And Ohio State, I mean, Ohio State gets off the bus and they scored 40 points. I mean, you can almost count on it from them at this point. So the over is a good play, but the one I'm actually taking is the Ohio State by 14.5. You're going to see growth from CJ Stroud. They're going to start meshing more. They were in a tough environment last week against Minnesota, and people were down on them because of that. I don't take anything away from them because of that. I'm excited to see them back at home and beating Oregon because, I mean, I don't like Ohio State or Oregon, but I definitely prefer the Buckeyes to the Ducks just from a fanhood aspect. And I think it's an easy Ohio State by 14.5 bet.
Yeah, I say if you can buy that half point, if you can buy that half point, get it down to 14 on your book, absolutely do so. They're back at home. They were on the road for the first game of the year last year or this season. So I like them too. I like them minus 14 better than minus 14.5
Yeah.
because of that reason. You could easily push in this game by 14 points. But yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau being out is probably not a good thing when it comes to having to try and get to the quarterback. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a real big issue for the Oregon Ducks. CJ Stroud, there kind of has been some talk that his shoulder's not right. I mean, he missed a few throws, probably more than a few throws last week against Minnesota that he probably should have had. But I don't see that as too big of a worry. They ended up turning it up later in the game and being able to come out with that win, which is good. I mean, Minnesota's a good football team. PJ Fleck always has those guys prepared to come out and win. Unfortunately for them, Ibrahim, their star running back, ended up tearing his Achilles, which it appeared to be the case. So that sucks for Minnesota, but probably helped out Ohio State in being able to come away with that win, ultimately. But I like Ohio State here. Oregon's still kind of unproven, not really sure what they're going to do. They didn't look all that great last week. I mean, neither of these teams looked all that great last week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I feel comfortable with Ohio State being at home. The atmosphere is probably going to be rocking. It does suck that it's a noon game for them, but it'll still be a good game. It's in the horseshoe, so I like Ohio State buying that half point down to minus 14.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. Where do you want to take us to?
I'm trying to think of what my other lock was. Do you remember?
I don't, but while we think of it, a game I think is going to be really fun for us to watch and talk about is the Appalachian State Mountaineers rolling on down to Miami Gardens, about an hour north of Coral Gables, to take on the Hurricanes. I'm excited for this game. I bet a money line on App State, which I'm not, throwing the mortgage on that one because it's Miami favored by 9. It's a little bit of a long shot, but I look at this bet in two ways. One, I would love to see it. I mean, you would just love to see App State go in there to that sleepy environment that Miami's going to have, the 15,000 fans that show up and come out with a victory. And on the more rational side of throwing a little bit down on that money line, I don't know if there's another team or program in the country who's more likely to let a big, disappointing loss go ahead and beat them twice than the Miami Hurricanes and Manny Diaz. I mean, that's what their program is damn near known for at this point. I think it's going to be a tough day for them. Even if they do win, I don't see them covering. I just see it being a sleepy game. I don't see Miami getting up for a game that isn't against Alabama or Florida State or one of their bigger opponents, especially coming off a loss where, for who knows what reason, they thought they actually had a chance in a big game. So I'm excited for this one because I think it's going to be a Miami struggle fest, even if they do pull out the win. So just for shits and giggles, I threw a little money line on App State.
Yeah, this game will be very interesting. It'll be very fun to watch. Excuse me. Miami coming off that disappointing loss where they thought they had a chance and they clearly didn't. stand a chance in that game against Alabama, and now they're gonna have to go right back and face another good quality team.
Yeah.
I spoke a lot about App State's defense in the offseason on my other show about how they return every single person on that defense who was a top 10 defense in the nation last year. So Derek King and that Miami offense is going to have to be ready for a potent defense on the other side of the ball to match them. And App State, they got Chase Bryce back there, I think, is their quarterback now. No, maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of a different team.
No,
it's Chase Bryce. So former Clemson quarterback transfer. So in their offense is looked good, not great up to this point, but they should be able to hang around there within Miami. I like them +9. I'd easily take that. I don't think they'll lose by a whole lot. Maybe Miami comes out and shows something that they weren't able to show last week, which I don't know why you wouldn't have tried to show it last week instead of this week. But, just tends to be, the trend here with the Miami Hurricanes is they just don't show up unless it's Florida State or a team that's not as good. So that's really the thing when it comes to Miami. I like App State +9. I would definitely sprinkle a little on the money line, but not as big as the money line take as you would for what game did we talked about Iowa. Yeah. Not I would put more on that Iowa money line than I would this money line for sure, just because you don't really know what's going to happen with this Miami team. But yeah, sprinkle a little bit there on the money line, but definitely take them +9.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right.
Let's see what else I got. UAB Georgia. No JT Daniels. No JT Daniels there for the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia favored by 23 points still. Only moved a 1.5 after that news came out from 24.5 to 23 points. I'm still sticking. I was originally going to stick with UAB plus money just because I think UAB is a pretty damn good team. And they I think they brought back like 20 of their 22 starters. And they're going up against a Georgia team now that doesn't have their starting quarterback. Obviously, Georgia's probably going to have another decent quarterback come behind him, but is he going to be ready? That's the biggest question mark. They're also without two of their best wide receivers, obviously with Pickens being out, doesn't help them at all. Their defense will be good, but I think this is just going to be a very ugly game overall. I think the over-under right now is at 44. I would go with the under. I think Georgia's defense is probably going to have to carry them, and then I don't know what kind of points UAB is going to be able to put up. So I like the under, but overall, I think the best bet here is to take UAB +23.
Yeah, I would say none in response to what UAB is going to put up. I mean, we just watched Georgia hold Clemson and DJ and all those receivers to 3. I think they're the best defense in the country, and I don't think it's close. There's no reason for me to think UAB scores. If you said the line's 23.5, yeah. So to cover that, I think that Carson Beck and Georgia need to score 24. I mean, if UAB scores at all, it's almost certainly going to be a garbage time touchdown once the game is in hand. So that could impact your spread in this game. It's part.
That could get you a cover.
Yeah, it could, and it's part of why I'm staying away from the game. You've got Carson Beck out there. He was highly lauded. The Gators thought he was a lock for them. Then he flipped over to their rival, which was always nice to see. But I think he'll be good in due time. He doesn't have to be good today. I mean, I think today he needs to hand it off. He needs to, complete the short passes and not turn it over. And even if he does turn it over, UAB is not going to score. So I would lean towards Georgia covering, but I'm not going to bet on it because it is going to be low scoring, and there's always a chance for a last minute garbage time TD by UAB.
Yeah, and then my other lock that I have is in one of these later games over there on the West Coast. Number 14 USC at home against Stanford. USC 17-point favorites. I think that is an easy money grab. If you want to bet it, go ahead. Please bet it because Stanford is not a good football team.
Yeah.
And USC has Keaton Slovis at the quarterback position, who I am very, very high on. Love the kid. So I like USC big in this one. I think they win by 3 or more touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add there. Maybe you're so confident about it, you might have just talked me into putting a little bit down on USC. I know that Stanford is pretty damn bad. I mean, they're just not a good football team. USC will get shit talked always until they fire Clay Helton, and they're never going to reach their potential. But as far as covering a game like this, I mean, that's certainly possible. I'd lean towards it. We'll see if I end up betting it based on your confidence.
Absolutely, absolutely. And anything else you wanna hit on? I know this slate is kind of difficult to pick around on.
Yeah, I think the last one that I definitely wanted to talk about. You know what? I'll say there's actually two. Um, I'll start, and we could get this one out of the way quickly. I'm taking Washington +7 at Michigan. Washington obviously lost that game to Montana last week, to that FCS program. That's a tough pill to swallow if you're a Washington fan. But I do think that this line is a huge overreaction. Washington was favored, I think, by 3 or 4 in the preseason. Then they lose that game and they end up being a 7-point underdog here. I was looking into this a little bit. As it turns out, Washington in that loss to Montana was missing their top 4 wide receivers, all of who they're going to have back this week. So I mean that they basically had to go out there and run the I formation on 90% of their plays last week. They didn't really have a chance against Montana, but I don't think Michigan's good. I'm not a Harbaugh fan. I think that Washington this week is going to look more like what they were expected to look like in the preseason when they were favored to win this game. So if you're going to give me +7 on that with the guys they're actually going to have available this week, I think it's sort of a spot where you can make up some money on an efficiency in the line there. So I'd take that.
Yeah, I'm probably going to stay away from this game. I like Michigan, what they're doing. They looked good last week. Washington, obviously, with the Montana loss, did not because I didn't know that. So I'll probably stay away knowing that now. I don't really like a whole lot there. But if I leaned, I would probably just lean to Michigan. It's dropped to -6.5, it looks like. So you get that touchdown and that field goal. So that's a little nice there. But let's go ahead and hit this last one, Christian.
Yeah, the last one I wanted to bring up. This is a game I'm going to try my best to watch. I'll be at the tailgate, but we'll have a TV there. I'll see if we can get it on. But on 9/11, we have Air Force Academy versus the Naval Academy, which I think is going to be a great game today. There's going to be good tributes for the 20th anniversary of those attacks and a lot of patriotism. And service academy games are always going to be fun to watch for fans of defense. So I think it'll be a good game. I usually am not a fan of taking unders. Even if I think a game's going to be an under, I tend to stay away from it. But I'm probably going to end up taking this one. I have a stat here that I don't know if anyone knows Tom Fernelli of CBS Sports, that he always likes to laud that since 2005 matchups between service academies, the under is 39-8-1, which is unbelievable record. I mean, they're always going under. On top of that, I think the Navy offense is really bad. I don't know a thing about Air Force. I know that last week Navy let up 9 sacks against Marshall. I think this is going to be a rock fight. I'm looking for a 10-6 game here or something like that. So we've got an under 41 in this game that I'm probably going to bet on.
It's going to be beautiful weather up there in Annapolis, Maryland. Going to be a fun game to watch if you're a big fan of defenses or the triple option. Not sure, what I would bet on this game. Air Force -6. It's a tough stretch there for me. It could be a 4-point game, like you're saying. So
Yeah.
I'm probably staying away. But that under record and stat that you just gave, feel pretty confident in that. It's going to be a low scoring affair. A lot of running, a lot of time being taken off the clock. So you can feel pretty confident going with that. So I really like it. And then just a quick hitter, buddy. Knowles line finally dropped -26.5 versus Jacksonville State. What do you think?
That's cover. I was looking at it this morning. I don't have it available on my book, but I would bet that all day. I think the Knowles are going to win something like 55-6, 55-10, something along those lines.
Yeah, I was going to go with 48-13. I think that's my score prediction, which obviously gives you the cover. So I feel pretty confident the Knowles this weekend against Jacksonville State. I don't think we, have one of those emotional letdowns after last week. I think we come out ready to prove ourselves again and, look forward.
I just want to see the Knowles drop the 50 burger. So
yes, sir. Let's get there. Let's hope we do.
Yeah.
Again, guys, We thank you guys for coming in, listening to our gambling picks. Thank you, Luke, for coming on, being one of our guests guys on here this morning, even for the short amount of time he was. Guys, don't forget, it is 9/11. Make it about more than just football today. There's a lot of lives lost in that tragedy and that terrorist attack. So we want to remember all those people who lost their lives, especially those first responders who were doing their best to get everybody out of those buildings. Thank you guys for tuning in. We had our gambling picks. We had our little review of Notre Dame, Jacksonville preview. So again, Christian, thank you as always for coming on, and can't wait to have you in the midweek show here in another 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're so close, and let's have a good day. Let's have some fun tailgates and fly the American flag proudly and go Noles.
Yes, sir. Go Noles.
All right, later.